Boris is in some serious trouble and it looks like Brexit's pretty much on its last legs. I'm really getting nervous. And I've got this article up to show that Boris has always been a pretty hardcore Remainer. I mean, saying that the EU wants a superstate just as Hitler did in 2016, and then making the argument that it's by different means but to the same objective, well, I agree, Mr. Johnson. Germany, by the EU really is a continuation of Germany by the means. And so it was rather annoying when his brother Joe Johnson leaves the Conservative cabinet, saying that he has to put the country's national interest before family loyalty. I hate this phrase. I hate it's almost a deceptive way of approaching anything, because Joe Johnson, his brother, was a Remainer, a massive Remainer, while Boris is a massive Leaver. They both have different interpretations of what is good for the country. So saying, well, I'm putting the national interest ahead of family loyalty, are you? Because it sounds like you're putting the European Union's interests ahead of family loyalty and national interest to me, but then that's just my interpretation of what is in the national interest. Saying that, it gives the papers, oh, well, that Joe Johnson clearly knows what he's talking about. Does he, though? Does he? He seems to be a hardcore Ramoner. Like, I don't see how he knows any better than anyone else on that side, and I don't agree with that side. So why are we acting like he's some authority on this? But anyway, Boris had 21 Conservative MPs defect, like absolute fucking traitors, which means that he no longer has a majority in the House of Commons. This is a problem because it means that he can't legislatively get anything done, and he is at the mercy of our Remain Parliament. So we have a Brexit Prime Minister finally, who's still we still have a Remain Parliament overall, and he is completely at their mercy now. And they're just leveraging this. This is awful. Like he's been put in a position where he can't win any votes to get anything through Parliament because they're convinced that he's trying to get a no-deal Brexit, whereas he keeps saying, I'm not ruling out a no-deal Brexit because we need that in our arsenal if we're going to negotiate fairly with the EU. And the Remainers can't stand it. They hate it. They hate the fact that that might be the case. And it's like, why? I mean, you get like this, you can't see him very clearly there, but there's a fat Scottish MP who was speaking quite regularly in the House of Commons, and he was on BBC Question Time the other night. And he is just openly, well, I want us to stay in the EU. I'm trying to subvert the democratic will of the British people. Same with the Lib Dems, the Ramonas. The Jo Swinson and her merry band of middle-class traitors are just sat there going, no, stop Brexit, bollocks to Brexit. They don't respect democracy. And they got at least roundly shamed on BBC Question Time for this. And then you get like dipshits like Gina Milley, just, millionaire businesswoman who's like, you know what, fuck democracy. I'm going to sit here and cause as much trouble for anyone who's on the pro-democracy side of the question. Oh, proroguing Parliament. Oh, this is an unlawful abuse of power. Is it though, Gina? It turns out it's actually totally constitutional, and you are, once again, full of shit. But it's like, my legal team and I will not give up the fight for democracy. The fight against democracy. You are the one opposing the democratic will of the people. You are the one opposing an elected Prime Minister who's using constitutional law and claiming that that's unlawful. Have you considered that you're just full of shit? I mean, you are making people like this French woman upset. Right? She is convinced that she is seeing the rise of fascism because of the proroguing of Parliament. Because of people like you screaming, this is an unlawful abuse of power. No, it's not. We know it's not. The High Court says, don't be stupid. This is totally fucking constitutional. It happens every fucking year. Like, between each parliamentary session, there is a proroguing. A Queen's speech, and then they carry on. Oh, but no, this is the rise of fascism, right? I'm not going to play the video because it's just annoying, but literally, this fucking French teacher or something is just screaming, going, oh, I know I can escape, but I don't know what my husband's going to do without me. These people are stuck here. You will not suffer the consequences for that, but we're not going to be locking the borders. We're not going to prevent people leaving. Nobody is stuck here. It's still one of the most desirable places to immigrate to, which is what you're complaining about. And then the Conservative Prime Minister, a politician, tries to apologise to her in French. She's like, don't speak French at me. It's like, why? What are you getting defensive about? But it's entirely hysterical. There is nothing legitimate about this. I educate British kids, and now I can see the rise of fascism with proroguing Parliament, and I'm really scared. You don't know what that means. You do not know what proroguing Parliament means. You don't know what any of this is, and none of this is the rise of fascism. This is the rise of socialism, if that's what you're worried about. But holy shit, man. I'm getting really fucking sick of it. And so Boris is like, right, okay, call a general election. Oh, they don't want one. Weirdly enough, they suddenly don't want a general election. I mean, Jeremy Corbyn has only been spending the last 5 years every day, general election, general election, general election. But, oh no, wait. Now it's tactically disadvantageous because for the last 2 years or so, the Liberal Democrats have been chewing up Labour strongholds. It's amazing how much ground the Liberal Democrats have been gaining from Labour. Even if this hasn't translated into that many seats yet, it's probably going to the next general election. And I think Corbyn knows it. If you look at just Britain elects and just look at the by-elections that come up, you see Labour are just losing huge chunks, 10 to 20% of votes in certain areas to the Liberal Democrats. It's fucking hell. You guys are in trouble. But no, they're all in agreement. No. Apart from the fat Scottish twat on the end, they're all like, no, we don't. Oh, actually, so the Liberal Democrats definitely do want an election, but they're all going to agree not to have one because Corbyn doesn't want one because he knows he'll get fucked. And the thing is, they've got this in exactly the kind of dictatorial place that they want it, right? Boris Johnson's the Prime Minister, but he has a minority government. Now, this doesn't normally happen because normally there's a general election called so someone forms a majority, right? This is a very dire and complex times. And so Boris is like, right, okay, well, now I'm in this position. Let's have a general election. They're like, no. So essentially, they're going to keep him in, I don't know, some arm bar and just say, you're going to do what we want, Boris. You're going to do what we want. Which seems deeply unfair and seems really kind of unconstitutional. In fact, seems kind of tyrannical to me, especially as the Parliament is going against the will of the public. 2/3 of the constituencies voted to leave. 3/4 of our MPs want to remain. So these are not representative of the public, and so they're claiming the sovereignty of Parliament, which is really annoying because what that really means, what that really was, is the sovereignty of Parliament over the King. So it's the Parliament's will, not the King's will, and that was done to protect the Commons. I mean, it's the House of Commons. But when the House of Commons is opposed to the Commons, then it's not the sovereignty of Parliament, it flows from the sovereignty of the people. The whole superstructure, the legitimacy of it, is built on the idea that the people are sovereign and Parliament are their representatives and they supersede the monarchy. That's how it's remained in existence for all of this time. And if Parliament turns around and says, you know what, fuck the people, actually. We think we're the ones who know best, and so we're in charge, so fuck you. So your referendum, which has to have more democratic legitimacy, because it is a poll of all of the people, those people who are actually sovereign, and then imbued into the Parliament, they can't supersede this. They do not have greater democratic legitimacy than this direct democracy. And so what do they think is going to happen? I mean, this is a real fucking crisis for the legitimacy of our entire political system. And the Remainer rebels are just like, yeah, fuck you. We're going to get what we want. I don't know, man. I think this is going to be fucking brutal, to be honest. I mean, you got people like John Bercow, who are open Remainers, used to be a Tory, is now a Remainer, and is wildly partial to the Remain side and very, very anti the Brexit side. And it's very clear. So the Tories are going to have to go after him. What choice do they have? I mean, it puts these people in such a fucking hypocritical position as well. They want general elections because they are the opposition. It's a chance for them to strike back and actually take some seats. Except they know that Johnson's going to crush it. They know that Johnson and the Brexit Party will fucking crush them. Because they are not actually very popular. Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party is on 20 to 25% in the polls. That's really bad. A few years ago, they were at 30, 32%, something like that. The Conservatives are 30 to 35%. And the Brexit Party are somewhere between 5 and 15%. So the Brexiteers actually will have a majority. And Labour is deeply weak in its own heartlands at the moment because it seems to be going against the will of the people. And everyone recognises it. Everyone recognises him as a communist and McDonnell as a communist. And the British public are not communists. They don't want that kind of shit, right? Anyway, apparently, before this crunch vote to force to force through legislation to block a no-deal Brexit, which went through in one day, went through Parliament and the Lords, so they both threw the British public under the bus by saying, right, you can never leave the EU if the EU is not prepared to give you a deal. And if the EU is not prepared to give us a deal, then that means we're trapped forever. So all of the decision-making power now rests with the EU, a body that doesn't want us to leave. This is what the Remainers have done. And apparently, they agreed, they're demanding an extension, that they apparently agreed with EU leaders before the vote. Now, to me, that seems like fifth columnists actively conspiring with a foreign power to subvert the will of the British people, which is really fucking annoying and is really, really, really dangerous, in my opinion. I really think that's fucking irresponsible that they would do something like this, right? And they are willing to go to court to enforce this delay. They are going to use legal action to force Boris Johnson, the minority prime minister, to do as they want. And the thing is, right, Boris, he ain't going to do it. I'm not going to seek a Brexit delay. As he said the other day when he was giving a speech in front of, when he was announcing 20,000 new police officers, which incidentally is the most funny thing, right? Just quick aside, he's out there outside of Parliament on, like, you know, the second or third day or whatever else, giving a speech. And he's saying, right, we're going to improve the NHS, we're going to get more police officers on the street, essentially laying out the Labour manifesto. And they're sat there booing him. You can hear a crowd of them off to the side booing everything he's saying. But it's like, these are your policies, you fucking idiots. You're just booing him in principle that he's Brexit now. He's Boris the Brexiteer and you're the fucking traitorous fifth columnist Remainers. And even if he's going to do the things you want to do, you're going to boo him on that? It's transparent. But anyway, when he was out there, someone was asked, are you going to get an extension? He was like, no, I'm not going to ask the EU for an extension. I'd rather be dead in a ditch. And it's like, good. I'd rather us all be dead in a fucking ditch than get an extension from the European Union at this point. Fuck me. Obviously, this means that he's going to be, if they force through law requiring him to ask them for an extension, and if he says no, then he faces jail time. He faces prosecution, so he'll be breaking the law. And they claim that he's the one acting like a spoiled child. And it's like, this is unreal. This is unreal that you think you aren't the ones acting like spoiled children. I mean, like, you're literally crying in the streets. Jess Phillips is giving hysterical tantrums, like an old fishwife berating her husband in the fucking parliament, going, I don't understand parliamentary procedure. I don't know what's going on. We know you don't understand this. It was clear from your reaction to the proroguing. You acted like that Frenchwoman going, oh, this is the rise of fascism. No, you just don't know what you're talking about. You literally don't understand what's happening here, right? And so it looks like Farage and the Tories are going to be forced into an alliance because they do outpoll the Remainers. Fucking do it. Just do it. At this point, I don't care. Just fucking do it. I mean, it's all up in the air, so by tomorrow, all of this might be invalid. It might all have changed. Who knows? But my God, man, I am getting really pissed off. And there are going to be lots of protests about this. In fact, there's one on Monday outside of Parliament that I will be attending. If you'd like to come down and say hello, it'd be very nice to see you, and we'll tell them what we think. Because, man, I'm not happy. I'm not happy about the way this is going. And this has to change. The Remainers have to accept they lost. They are not allowed to conspire with the Europeans in order to overthrow Brexit. This is just unbelievably wrong. Anti-democratic. And it's making a lot of people fucking angry.